So if you're making $50,000, don't date.
Ooh.
I'm just being for real. You're not ready to date.
Again, I'm with you when
You're not ready to date. You're not ready to date because courtship costs.
Okay.
Everything costs.
Now, she was reasonable saying $50,000. If you don't make that, then don't date. A lot of women I've seen on podcasts lately say, hey, if you want to date me, you need to make $100,000 minimum. So she's being reasonable.
The reason that this conversation really turns into a stupid conversation is because she's essentially saying police officers, firefighters, and school teachers shouldn't date. Some men be agreeing with the women who make these statements. And in the ABL situation, it did reek of being, out of touch. Like normal people making normal money, they date. They just don't date as high end, but they date. That's just all to it. To cut through all of the all of the BS, the reason it's ridiculous for women to come on the internet and talk about that and even say that if a man makes 50K, he shouldn't date, when all of them know good and hell well that they have given sexual access to a man that makes less. They've given sexual access to men who didn't spend a dime on them. So it's very disingenuous to try to make that argument to say that men who make less than 50K shouldn't date when 50K isn't required for someone to get access to your vagina. It's disingenuous. I do believe men can have a conversation that, hey, don't date seriously until you get your stuff together. That's a legitimate conversation. Don't be trying to pursue a chick in some serious long-term capacity if you ain't got your stuff together. That's a legitimate conversation. And there's some nuance and, arguments on both sides of that. But again, we're having a nuanced conversation. But if you fill up a room with 100 sexually active women, I'm willing to say that at least 90% of them have had sex with a man who they had no idea what he made, how much money he made, and he's probably spent no money on them, and probably had an ongoing friends with benefit situation, an F-buddy situation, and all kinds of situations. This girl has an F-buddy right now who's probably spent no money on her.
You're not ready to date because courtship costs.
Okay.
Everything costs.
Okay.
People not really just cutting through the nonsense, or they're defining dating as old school formal courting that very few people do anyway. If you're going to do old school formal courting and all of that stuff, yeah, there's a monetary aspect to it. Okay, we get it. We understand that. That's a thing. That's legitimate. But that ain't what's going on out here.